First of all, before we start, sorry if you hear a lot of squeaking in this chair. I tried to find another one. Couldn't. Also, that thing back there, someone asked if it was Sigil. It's a YouTuber's logo that I really no longer watch, but I still think it's cool. Also, I paid money for it, so I'm going to hang it up. Today is going to be a little bit of a different video. Don't know how long it's going to go on. Haven't done one of these before. Today we're going to be reviewing a little indie game I found on the Xbox Game Pass called Infinite Guitars. This is a game that kind of mashes together 3 different gameplay types into one single entity. First things first, we got is, bam, the 2D adventure. I don't know how else to explain it. You'll see gameplay of it. I'm going to show it, obviously. Got that kind of gameplay. It's got turn-based combat, kind of like a Final Fantasy type of game, a JRPG sort of. And it's also got rhythm game mechanics, it's got a rhythm game in there too. 3 different types of gameplay shoved into one game. Is it good? Find out, I guess. Into the review. By the way, this is the first shot. This is the moment I decided to make a video of this because I thought it was a funky little idea. But it stopped now. When I turned on the game, and it was loading up, it immediately blasted me with sounds in my ear. I'm gonna, I guess, record gameplay. At this point onward, I'd like to point out that in the beginning, I accidentally turned down the music too low, to the point where I thought you could just hear it in the background, but with the game's actual sound design and mixing, you couldn't really hear it at all. So sorry for missing out on any music in the beginning. But from what I've seen of the rest of it, it's probably exactly the same as the rest of the island whenever I started to turn up the music. But I'm not too certain. I'm going to do my best to not spoil any of the actual story and just focus on the actual gameplay and stuff like that. Because despite my problems with the gameplay and with the actual making of the game itself, there's beautiful art, there's a good story in there, the music's good, though repetitive in my opinion. I'm still going to steer away from spoiling anything. So let's just get into this. First things first is the dialogue the actual game provides you at the very beginning to decide whether or not you're going to be playing on. There are only 2 difficulties to choose from, normal and hard. Of course, I'm picking hard on every single difficulty because I'm a hardcore gamer, and I like playing my games on hard mode. I like challenge whenever I play a game. I'll come out and state this right now, right before we get into the thick of actual gameplay. I didn't actually find any of it too challenging or difficult to make me consider switching to normal mode, which is something that a lot of games with a hard mode have done for me. I believe I only failed once during a rhythm section, and I did mess up a bit before I actually got the hang of it later on during combat with the rhythm. But I didn't really feel the need to turn it off or switch it off hard mode for anything other than that. And after I got used to the combat and the way the combat works, it was very easy for me. Now, it'd be hard to deny the fact that this game definitely, on the adventure parts, takes inspiration from Dark Souls itself, with both its dodge mechanics and the fact that their save points are guitars on fire. There's not much else I could say about that. Look at that fiery guitar. I wasn't exactly sure how the saving worked until a little bit after leaving this guitar, and I realized I was saving like on a beat rather than near actual input. And after this, I thought I'd show you the one time I failed in this entire game to pass a rhythm section. Yes, I know it sucked. It looks like I sucked, but it was kind of confusing that the game didn't automatically, switch into the PC controls, which is my first note on this game, is that it doesn't automatically switch over to whatever console you're playing on, because as you see here, I had to go into the settings myself and switch what controls were being shown. From this point onward, the music is on, baby. The music's pretty good, not gonna lie, but I feel as though for the parts where the rhythm game is concerned, is very repetitive. As in, every single area has almost the same exact music. And I believe outside areas also have the same rhythm music later on. But I won't know until I play the rest of the game, which I will not be doing, because I felt like it was too repetitive to carry on playing. Now for my next problem with it. I didn't know how the level up screen showed up. So the moment I first leveled up, it disoriented me and I got hit by a object immediately after. Of course, this is the only time it happened, because any other time I leveled up was after combat, not from collecting scrap. And I feel like that is something that probably... I feel like leveling up shouldn't happen unless you are outside of a situation like that, where you could get hit by objects. But I'm not going to nitpick on that too much. Real quick to clarify, when I mean that the music is the same everywhere, I mean the rhythm game music in which you play. It doesn't feel too different other than on the amp swords. In combat is the exact same music that you're going to play every combat turn, which, I can understand, but I would like some variety with a rhythm-based game. I don't want to be playing the same rhythms every time I have to hit an enemy with a guitar solo, you know what I mean? Now, from what I've seen in the actual combat, it's mostly you try to do it chance-based for the normal attack, which means you hold the attack button and release at the certain percentage you want to go. Honestly, the normal attack doesn't... I've only used that like a few times, very sparingly. I usually use the other attacks, which initiated a rhythm game. Real quick right here, with the dodging mechanic in the actual game, at first it felt different and sort of difficult, but later on in the game, it was the easiest thing. The dodging mechanic itself is very much used in a way of gathering charge from dodging as late as possible. And charge in this game, going along with the motif of Dark Souls, is basically the same thing as an Estus flask that you heal yourself with, except for the fact that it is super easy to get charges in this game, which makes it almost impossible to die. Real quick before I actually get back to my notes, part right here is what I meant by sound mixing. This originally in the game was so loud it was unbearable each time I was in combat. Little more side note before I continue. You can actually use the charges in combat, not just to heal yourself, but also to add power to your attacks. But the power difference between your attacks with the charge added and without the charge added, it is minuscule enough to where I didn't even notice a difference. Now here at an hour in, I noticed here another sound issue with the mixing, with the monster's roar being super loud compared to the rest of the game, even though I had turned down almost everything to an even amount, as well as my pinky starting to get tired, as you can see right here. Bam. That's how I was holding my pinky the entire time, almost the entire time. I got more comfortable later on, but it was really tiring. I don't know why my pinky got so sore and why my pinky immediately went into that position. Not sure if this is going to actually be the last time I talk about a sound mixing issue, but I did find this one little last sound mixing issue. With healing during combat, it is super loud compared to healing outside combat and any other thing. Noise-wise, other than, other noise problems like the switching between characters during combat and the monster's roar from earlier, among other things. I'm not going to lie to you, most of the art and the animations in this game are amazing, and it feels like this artist and animator made the game themselves, because I feel like this might be their first game, but it is a very good start if this is the first game, not going to lie. It's really good. The animations are really smooth. Most of the time, they're really smooth. Some of the overworld animations with, like, the moving around and stuff can be a bit clunky. But any cutscene like this you're seeing right here looks great. That looks amazing. It looks perfect. This cool little dragon I see right here, that's sick. That's fucking sick. I wouldn't have it any other way. I just have problems with the gameplay and stuff. And there's another problem with, like, the speech parts, like this part right here. This feels like most of the faces do not match what the tone for through the text is showing me. Whenever I see this, I feel like his face is not as worried, is like angry, less worried, more scoffing. This is angry looking, but it feels like should be more happy that he got the infinite core, which is, you don't need to worry about it. But that doesn't match with what he's saying here. It doesn't seem like he should be angry. That right there is great. That's a good face for this. That's what he should have had the entire time. Granted, I do love the animation for this, and I do love the slight change in the music here. By the way, this continues being another song, the riff they use entirely. And I love the animation. My favorite part here was the clash out of this. My only problem with this is the fact that I lost the ability to solo in normal combat for a while, because soloing added some less repetitive beats. By the way, this is a really good bit right here. I love the clash, and I love the animation at the end. This is top tier. I don't know if this happens to the other bosses, but I was way too tired to keep playing. And I love this little animation here, and I love the max charge thing at the end. Another thing about the overworld part, right here, you'd think this is a zoomed out camera just to look at the temple thing, and the fact that I'm running doesn't change it. But the truth is that this is usually the camera on the overworld unless you are running. And it feels like the running camera is the normal camera. And right here, I just wanted to talk about the fact that the actual map itself is kind of confusing, and I had no idea how to get back to the airship that I had to get back to from here. And it was really confusing me. It was like a less detailed original Legend of Zelda game kind of map, and it kind of confused me and threw me off a little bit. Playing the game for over 2 hours at this point, I had stopped using the regular attacks almost completely, and started using only the attacks that required a guitar riff to do. And most of them were, most of the time, there was no difference in combat. There was no difference in the way I played. Eventually, I just stopped moving during the dodging thing, during the dodging turns, and I completely just stayed in one place and dodged whenever the thing hovered over me, and it was completely easy at this point. And the fact that it felt like this later on caused me to stop even trying to attack enemies afterwards, because it just became a chore to do the fights. And actually, in this area, I did learn something very, very upsetting to me. That whenever you're hitting the down arrow, whenever you're moving down, at least on the keyboard, anytime you hit the dodge button, it will not work. If you're moving down diagonally, it won't work. As long as you're hitting the down arrow, you cannot dodge, and it really peeved me off at this area. I eventually ran into a mini-boss in this area. I believe this is him. Either way, the mini-boss's moveset was just this, and that was it. There was no more moves, and it really kind of just didn't feel good to have such a limited moveset on what could be considered a mini-boss, in my opinion. Or not in my opinion, in the game's opinion, because it was set up very much like a mini-boss, and it was blocking my way to continue on. And it was just kind of upsetting to see the mini-boss have so little moves, and it was just very slow, tick, 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 tick. And at this point, I still was just running to the right of the screen, and I just stopped moving. It wasn't interesting. It was not an interesting fight. At this point in the game, you get a second party member, which enables you to fix the fact that they took away soloing by being able to duet, which also extends the amount of time and lets you add over 100% to the attack you're doing. The only problem with having a second party member is the fact that you have to go through and actually switch between the party members and hear that sound issue that happens whenever you do switch between the two. And if not for that, it would have been good. I was hoping that eventually, if I got another party member, it would fix that problem. But as you can see here, definitely not. Alright, I've just about ran through all my footage that I have of this game, except for this bit. I wanted to show you guys this little bit right here, with these dancing little lads next to this audience of cats. I don't think this has anything to do with the story. They're just two little looping animations, but I thought it was a cool little thing to point out. But otherwise, no game footage, and that's about it. And that's about it. Thanks for staying to the end if you did. I know it's kind of a long, rambling line of speech from me, but I had a lot of fun making it, honestly. I recorded all the gameplay a few days ago, and I never actually got around to making the video till now. But it didn't take me as long as I thought I would. I had a lot of fun actually making this. I might do more reviews of games. I'll still continue to do my movie idea that I haven't made yet. But otherwise, I'm grateful that everybody's sticking around, and I hope you like video games. But closing thoughts. I have my notes right here. My closing thoughts originally, whenever I wrote these notes, is the game is fun, but I feel as though it goes on for a bit longer than necessary, which is still true to me right now. Because with the gameplay and the lack of diversity in the gameplay itself, I felt like there wasn't any need for it to be any longer than 3 hours, and I feel like it was going to be at least 4 times longer, because there was 4 bosses in total, including the actually I believe there would have been 5 big bosses in total, including the Guardian, the most definite final boss, and the 3 other things with the chains in there. So I feel like it would have been a longer game than it should have been for the amount of flaws and that kind of gameplay. Honestly, it's mainly the mechanics outside of the rhythm game that have upset me, because the rhythm game is good. Other than lack of diversity, it was really good. And the music was good, the art was good, and the sound design otherwise was not the best. That's about it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good whatever day. See ya.